Now we are talking about item number 9, which is structure in English. When we talk about structure in English, we usually refer to phrase and sentence structure. Phrase and sentence in English are usually made by combining elements together according to what is called merger technique. The latest version of generative grammar, which is called the minimalist approach, think or believe that a phrase in English is the result of a merger operation where we usually combine first two elements, two words in order, two units, two building blocks in order to form a phrase. And then as long as at each time we add one more element to get a new phrase or a bigger phrase. In order to illustrate the merger technique in phrase structure in English, let's begin with an elementary two-word phrases in the following mini dialogue as an example number 1. So here we have this example. Speaker A is asking speaker B, what are you trying to do? He replies, help you. Help you is a verb phrase because it begins with the verb help and then followed by the determiner or the object you. So it is the result of merging two elements, the verb help plus the determiner you. Let's illustrate this merger technique by referring to the tree diagram in example number or in diagram number 5. Here in example number 5, we have VB, which is a verb phrase, consists of two elements, the verb, which is help, followed by the determiner, which is the object, is the pronoun you. So the verb phrase here is a result of combining two elements, a verb plus a determiner. It means that the phrase in English is binary by nature, where we have two elements. Now let's move to another example. Still we are talking about merger technique. In diagram number 9, as you will see, we have another verb phrase, which is IP phrase, or infinitive phrase. Infinitive phrase is the result of combining the infinitive, I, it is the symbol for infinitive, to the previous verb phrase, which is help you. So still it is binary, by combining two elements, infinitive to the verb phrase help you, we get a bigger or a higher phrase, which is the infinitive phrase to help you. By adding one more element, we get a bigger or another phrase, as in this one, as you see that as in diagram number 11. In diagram number 11, by adding the verb trying to the previous infinitive phrase to help you, we get a bigger phrase, which is the verb phrase trying to help you. So if we analyze the structure of this verb phrase, it consists of two elements. The first one is the verb trying plus the IP, which is the infinitive phrase. Still, this example once again shows that the structure of the verb phrase is binary by nature. Each time we combine two elements to get a phrase. Now we talk about another phrase in English, which is the auxiliary phrase, as in diagram number 14. Here we have IP phrase. We have here IP phrase, which is auxiliary phrase. By the way, IP is used For two phrases, it could refer to infinitive phrase or to auxiliary phrase. That is why this approach is called minimalist approach. Why? Because the same symbol here is used for two different phrases. This auxiliary phrase is the result of adding the auxiliary I, refers to auxiliary R, to the previous verb phrase trying to help you. It is still binary, consists of two elements, the auxiliary I plus the verb phrase. A student might ask a question, what's about the determiner we here? According to the minimalists, the determiner or the subject of the sentence sometimes could be null, as you will see in the next item. It could be deleted. That is why here the first element, according to them, is the auxiliary I, and the symbol I bar means incomplete auxiliary phrase. We mean by incomplete auxiliary phrase a phrase without a determiner. Let's move on to another bigger phrase. This is the last phrase in English, which is called CP phrase or complementizer phrase. Complementizer phrase is a phrase which begins with a complementizer, such as that, for example, or if. The symbol for the complementizer is C, as in this one. So this CP phrase, which is the biggest phrase that we are trying to help you, is the results of adding the complementizer that to the previous auxiliary phrase are trying to help you. So once again, if you want to analyze the structure of this phrase, if we start from bottom to up, and we move from down to up, we will see that the structure of the noun phrase is binary in nature. You remember the first phrase that we had was a verb phrase consisting of two elements, verb, the verb help, and the determiner you. And then by adding the infinitive to the verb phrase help you, we get the infinitive phrase to help you. Then by adding the verb trying to this infinitive phrase, we get the verb phrase trying to help you. And you see, finally, you see that now when we add an auxiliary, here we have the auxiliary R to the previous verb phrase trying to help you, we get an auxiliary phrase. And finally, when we add the complementizer, that we get a CP phrase or a complementizer phrase. So we have learned from these phrases that the phrase structure in English is binary by nature. It has two components, two elements. It is the result of combining, of merging two building blocks. At each time we add one more element in order to get a bigger or a higher phrase in English.